Good morning. It's day 146 of Walk with Winston, and wherever you are today, I'm coming to you from Tampa. I hope that you have a really great day. Well, this week has been a really challenging week for a lot of people I'm close to. Seems like opposition is just coming to them from every quarter. Loss of loved ones. Several people I know have lost loved ones. Loss of dear companion pets. Loss of employment. Battling illnesses in the hospital and transition care places. There's just so much opposition. And yet, for many people that are visiting my Starbucks headquarters over here, this feels like a very normal day to them. And I'm sure that all the folks that I am thinking about this morning who have had these very significant traumatic experiences over the last week woke up that morning feeling like they had a very normal start to the day. Well, there is a prescription. There's a prescription, and there is an answer to all of this opposition. One of my fundamental beliefs is that the more opposition we feel, the bigger the breakthrough that's coming. But what gives me a lot of comfort when I face these similar kinds of very significant, unexpected, and difficult situations is a reliance on God, that He has a bigger plan. You probably have heard the metaphor about the cross stitch, how on the back of the cross stitch you see all the loose threads and you see all this chaos and uncertainty, and then when you flip it over and you see the other side, you see a beautiful pattern, and maybe even like a mosaic type pattern to the cross stitch. I remember very vividly the day that my mom passed, and it was a regular Monday. I went into work. I was working out of an office in northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area. I just recently changed my office location to convert. I sat in with the cubicles with the rest of the team because I wanted to convert the private office into more of a team space. And I had just done that the week before, so I was still getting settled into that desk, that cubicle with the team. And I remember getting updates because my mom had just had surgery the week before. I had given her a big hug and visited her, and just had seen her the previous Wednesday, and she was going in for a routine follow-up exam on that Monday. But it was anything but routine. About 14 hours later, she had passed with septic. And I'm 700 miles away. And I remember how routine that morning felt. But then as I got the news that she was being admitted to the hospital, and then as I got the news later that she was taking a very severe turn for the worse and wouldn't make it through the night, I cried out in anguish. I couldn't see clearly, but I remember every moment as if it was in slow motion. Life is like that for us. We start out with this sense of normalcy and perhaps even this illusion of control. But then something happens. And only later can you start to connect some dots. I mean, there's some tragedies that are beyond explanation and beyond understanding. But in many of the situations that we feel so devastated about when they first happen, there is something that can come from it. And so probably the saddest The saddest situation I can think of is dealing with that adversity alone, or feeling like you're alone. The initial response so often is that we want to isolate and feel like we're the only one that has ever gone through this. I watched a Facebook thread yesterday, a post from earlier, about a month ago, of a friend of mine who was posting what looked to be, just some cryptic, it was a post, but then there were people that were relating to his post and jumping in on his post and encouraging him to see that he was not alone in this situation. And tragically, a few weeks later, he's no longer with us. And there's so much regret when you understand that, when you see that people don't understand and they think they're all alone in these situations. Well, I'm not saying I'm perfect on that either. When I face adversity, my first thing is to jump back into my shell. But fortunately, as I've gotten older, I've learned the wisdom of surrounding myself with other like-minded people and being able to, that circle can't be super huge. There's only so many people that can be entrusted with your innermost thoughts and feelings. But the important part is that you surround yourself with someone. You surround yourself with people that you can trust in different dimensions of your life, in different aspects of your life, who are a little further ahead of you in seasons of their life. And you can draw from their experiences. Tony Robbins talks about how his progression in life really came on the shoulders of taking lifetimes of wisdom that people had put into biographies and leapfrogging, decades of their experience and learning from their mistakes and incorporating those lessons by reading biographies. And I believe that's a wonderful way to do it too. But ultimately, there's one who's with us all the time, anywhere, no matter whether we isolate ourselves or not, and that's our Heavenly Father. And He desires, just like a loving parent, He desires to speak to us and to nurture us and to help us through those tragic events. If we're open to it, He can speak to us through nature. He can speak to us through a casual conversation we overhear. He can speak to us through written word. He can speak through us through impressions deep inside. So if you are feeling discouraged, maybe you've faced a traumatic life experience in the last little bit, know that there are people who care about you, who are praying for you, who are surrounding you. And I do believe that there's a crowd of witnesses looking down at us and wanting to encourage us and to nudge us out of this darkness, out of this fog, into a very positive situation. So, while many of us are experiencing a day-to-day that seems very normal, there are others around us who are really hurting this morning. And so be on the lookout for those people. Speak a word of encouragement to them. Let them know they're not alone. And everyone deals with these kinds of situations in their own way, in their own time, particularly if it's a loss of a loved one. And but just let them know you're present. That's, as I reflect on losing my mom, what I appreciated the most was the quiet presence of people. They didn't have to do acts of service. I so appreciated the cards of sympathy that came weeks afterwards, because the grieving was still there, and yet they thought so much of me to let me know that was in their thoughts. So my friend, you are an encourager. You are a person of light. And I believe that you are going to speak a word today that's going to change someone's life. And if that happens to you, you get some sort of miraculous encounter, I'd love for you to private message me. I'd love to hear your story. With that, you guys have a great day.